listing. So I certainly recommend it. But just claiming your listing probably isn't going to boost you dramatically in the search results.
All right, Rand, I'll give you a break because I know that your mouth is hurting. So just to sum up, I want to make sure that I got this clear. So in these earlier slides here, you're talking about a correlation test you did on local results, right? And you did something about 220 queries on this from different cities all around the United States.
Right.
And then based off of that, you found this raw data here, right? So we're seeing that on these tables, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
The raw data will actually be, we have an Excel file with all the raw data, so we'll make that publicly available so people can dig through it too.
Perfect. Okay. And this table I'm looking at is divided into all, which covers all kinds of results, right?
Yeah, web and places, which I wouldn't really pay much attention to the all because you're going to see really weird stuff in there. Since we know that there's very different algorithms between places and web, we should expect that the all is just going to show us weird, crazy crap and a lot of negative correlations, right? Because things are so different between how they rank places and web results.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so web results would be anything that's not local specific, so Google's terminology for
If
this
it doesn't have that little red kind of arrow thing that looks like a Google place marker next to it, and it doesn't appear on the map, we consider it a web result. If it has that places a places page and the more info links off to a maps page, that's a places result.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So we have the data correlations here, which are showing just the multiple variables that we tested for.
Right. These essentially show all the variables that we looked at.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then with these slides, you're talking about interesting web results. So these are your takeaways from it. Is that right?
Right. So the first one is the takeaways from the web stuff. The second one is the takeaways from the places.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
This slide deck will be downloadable, so you'll be able to look through this yourself too.
Okay, so the big question remaining in my mind is how do we apply all this stuff?
Right. Well, so luckily we've got the second half of the slide deck to go through that.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny. All right. So, a few more interesting places things that I didn't quite get to, but you know how people talk about the quantity of reviews and quantity of listings is sort of more important than the quality or the star rating? Well, check it out. Right there. Quantity looks like a much higher correlation than star rating. So right there you're kind of seeing that the math saying that our intuition and the recommendations that you hear from a lot of people in local and places is spot on, probably. Interestingly, the number of linking root domains had the highest correlation of the link metric, 0.12, which is actually not that bad. What that sort of suggests to me is that it could, in fact, mean that while maybe links aren't that important or as important in places as they are in the web search results, they still matter. And I would still recommend that having that diversity, high diversity of domains linking to your local results probably is quite important. And Danny, you should feel free to interrupt me if people have questions in there that
Okay.
that
I know
that
there's a long Q&A at the end, so
Yeah.
try not to interrupt too much so we can get through it.
Sounds good. So one of the other questions that we wanted to ask is, are there unique ranking algorithms, not just for places versus web, but for individual cities? Like, does Google rank things differently in Seattle places results than they do in Albuquerque or Portland or Baltimore, right?
Does this apply internationally as well, so something like Ontario in Canada?
Well, unfortunately, we only looked at the U.S. for this study, but we might get outside the U.S. for other ones. One of the things that we noticed is, remember, Google rolled out Places, the new Places search in the U.S. first. It's only recently made its way to the U.K., and then it'll be expanding to some other ones. So, so we wanted to ask, are there unique things about a city, and are there unique ranking algorithms by business category? Like, does Google apply different heuristics or different metrics for restaurants than they do for dry cleaners or those kinds of things? So we used what's called an ANOVA, which is a variance analysis. And I won't get too technical because we've got a lot of material to cover, to see whether this was the case. And then we used this test called Shapiro-Wilk to see how that matches against the normal distribution. And so here you can kind of see from one of our guys who did the analysis, talking about the variance analysis. So basically what we're getting from these numbers is Google's algorithm is probably the same for all cities. It's very likely that there's no difference in how they rank between Seattle, Albuquerque, Baltimore, etc., which means if you really feel like you've got the algo figured out, you could do a great job optimizing in Seattle or Baltimore. You can apply that knowledge in any major U.S. city, most probably, right? That is probably going to be the case.
That's a huge takeaway. That makes my job a lot easier.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Let's hope so. However, yeah, the big but here is it seems to be the case. Now, not 100% for sure, and I'll explain why this is a very theoretical right now, but it seems like business type is a source of variation, and therefore it's basically saying highly unlikely to have occurred by chance that the variance analysis is showing that these different business types are having different input metrics, right? Which you can sort of see those variables in there, which suggests that maybe business type, like Google looks at different things for restaurants than they do for dry cleaners than they do for yoga studios, which I think also makes some logical sense, right? You might say, hey, restaurants have different kinds of directories they get listed in, and they get mentioned more times in these types of things, and they're more likely to be reviewed than other types of businesses. So business type could indeed be something where there's some variation in the algorithm. However, that being said, make sure to read this caveat at the end, right? The results from this are going to assume that a normal distribution curve, when you do this Shapiro-Wilk test, we don't have normal distribution curves here, which could mean that indeed it is being done all the same way, and we're just seeing sort of these skewed results because of that non-normal distribution. When we release the study in full, I'll try to do a better job of explaining that in layman's terms. What you need to know for now is Google's algorithm, very probably the same for all cities, very possibly different for different types of businesses. That's kind of the takeaway.
Okay, that's a great takeaway. And thanks for clarifying that it's just something that we believe is true, but we do not have all the evidence at this point to be able to back that up.
Right. And even even if we got much more solid results on this front, I'd still be doubtful. And the reason I'd always be doubtful, no matter what we find, even if we found 100% proof of this kind of thing, is well, that's how it is today. Mm-hmm. How it's going to be tomorrow, how it's going to be next week, next month, we don't know. Google Places is very much in beta. They are changing things all the time. They're shifting team members. So lots of changes happening. All right. However, all this said, we got some actionable recommendations for you that will hopefully help out in your Google Places ranking. So let's dive into a few of these. First off, despite that low correlation, I'm going to really recommend that folks do register your business. If you don't register, there's no way to make all of these other changes that you're going to need to make in order to be optimized, right? And you're going to lose out on the ability to do advertising with the Google Tags thing, lose out on the ability to add coupon codes, all that kind of stuff. So definitely register. You do want to optimize those names and titles, right? Not only was there the slight positive correlation with having those those words in the title, but it probably is getting you higher click-through rate as well. When you see results in here and it says, I search for physical therapy near Seattle, right? It says here physical therapy, and remember that gets bolded. So there's Pacific Medical Center, Beacon Hill, Swedish Medical Center, First Hill. I'm guessing a lot of people are thinking, do they even have physical therapy there? And those aren't getting clicks because of that. So I would really recommend for folks who are doing this, when you're claiming your profile, make sure get that title tag matching and get the name of your place result matching as well.
Okay, so you're talking about the URL, having the name of your business there, and having the name of your business with the same phrase in the title tag, so they can get bolded both places?
Sorry, so the URL I wouldn't be too worried about. Whatever your business URL is, it is, right? So, for example, if you're called, I think it's good to have maybe some, I think we saw the correlation that said it was good to have the business type in the URL, but maybe that there was some negative correlation with having the city name in there.
Okay.
So, again, it's fine. If you want to be, if you are Seattle's best physical therapy, and that's the name of your business, great. Go for it. But if you're, if these core physical therapy guys owned corephysicaltherapy.com instead of seattlephysicaltherapy.com, I wouldn't be too worried about trying to acquire that exact match domain name and that kind of thing. I would probably stick with that and then just make sure that the title and the place name match.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
On these, names and titles, you can optimize a lot more things, and I recommend that you customize and complete every single detail you can. You can add your hours in there, add phone numbers, you can add the categories that you're relevant to, you can put in photos. If you look at the SEO Moz Place page, that's one of the nice things that you and Jen did that I really like, is having all those nice photos of sort of the office and people in there and on it. I think that's a great idea. Not only is it going to potentially give you some better rankings and give Google the idea that that you're investing in this, but it also means that when people visit this page, they might, recall who you are from the photos, see all the hours, see the numbers, see the categories that you serve, et cetera, and have more information about you, and thus can make a better decision about whether you can serve them well.
I think it's nice from a psychological perspective as well, that if I can actually see the place, I'm more likely to remember it if I can see photos of it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and sometimes, if you go to a page and there's no hours, it's a pain in the butt to know, like, well, I wonder if they're open. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Okay, second thing, and this advice is kind of universal in the local and places thing, but get listed everywhere. Yes, even at the hippest guide to the lesbian scene in Seattle, which I thought was a great place for Google to be pulling from. So you can see there's these two kinds of places, right, that you'll see on every listing. Reviews from around the web and more about this place. And both of them will have where you can click where you can get more, right? So more about this place, you can see those more 449 results. More from around the web, you can click that and see all those different results, Yelp, Judy's Book, City Search, those kinds of places, right? And I would definitely recommend that you get go visit both of these and try and tackle as many of those listing places from your competitors, get yourself listed in all of those as well. And we'll show you some more specific tools to figure that out next. So, you put it, what a great place for this slide, Danny. So you can see a big list of where to get listed. Getlisted.org has a nice resources page, this local search data providers, right? And they show you where Localese, InfoUSA, Axiom are pulling all their data. And these are the three places that serve both Google and Bing Maps and Yahoo Maps as well. And basically, getting listed in all of these places is very important, but there's oftentimes even more, right? So that Seattle's Lesbian Guide to the Hippest, I can't remember what it's called, right, that thing. That's not going to appear here, but it will appear in Google, and you probably want to get listed in those places as well. So this is a great starting point, but don't give up after you've gone through these. Make sure you're getting listed, everywhere. You can go direct to these Localese, InfoUSA, Axiom places and get your listing. Some of them you have to pay for. Some of them are free. And you can also use getlisted.org to help you with this process. And there's a lot of local SEO consultants who will assist on this as well.
Okay, and just to remind everybody, this whole slide deck will be available for free download after we're done with this. So just give us some time to upload it, but then with all the small print and all the URLs that we're throwing out at you, it'll be available afterwards.
Right, yes, good point. So this getlisted.org, I've shown you an example of what happens when you basically go to the home page, enter your business and your zip code, and then they'll show you where you're claimed and not. And then you can essentially use this information and use Get Listed to get listed. One of the things that I sort of recommend and that I've seen just from observation, now this is not very scientific, I haven't done any correlation analysis on this, but my impression, the sense that I get from browsing through a ton of these Google Places and local results is that Google applies some form of an importance algorithm to the listing sources that they show. So, for example, if you can go to the places, right, I searched for Seattle Coffee House here, and you can see Cafe Vita, Victrola, Bauhaus, Cherry Street Coffee. Go to the places where these guys are listed before you go digging into some, place where some guy who's listed number 20 or 30 in the results. Tends to be the case that the places where these guys are listed are often the most valuable places to get those listings from. So go into these, dig into the reviews from around the web, more about this place, etc. Get reviews from those.
And this fits in really well with our theory that businesses have different algorithms as opposed to different cities having different algorithms.
Right, precisely, right. And this is a really good reason why, obviously getting listed in all these places, good idea just on the basics. But then when you're trying to figure out those secondary sources and where else to go, you want to use your business category as a reference because it could very well be the case that you go and you dig into